Welcome back to the You Gonna Feel Me podcast, episode 6. Today we are sitting with a director of a Fortune 500 company. Want to go ahead and introduce yourself, sir?
Andre Jackson.
All right, Mr. Jackson. What kind of company you work for?
Well, I work in the telecommunications industry, so cable company.
Cable company? And how long have you been with the telecommunications company?
Well, this company I've been with for 5 years, but I've been in the industry for about 26 years.
26 years, telecommunications. That's a long time.
Yeah, honestly, bruh, it fits my personality, right? When I got into the business, it was just a job. And then about 2-3 years in, it became a career because it does fit my personality. And back when I started in 92-ish, won a whole bunch of jobs out there. And, I was able to make a lot of money for what was considered a lot of money back then doing this. So,
So it's safe to say you had a passion for it?
Yeah. I love what I do. Honestly, I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. When I was younger, my goal was to go in the military, become a cop, become a Fed. That was my goal. And then, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. And I got into this cable thing. Before I started doing this, I was a trash man. I did, I upkeep the stones at the Vietnam Memorial. I worked in meat markets, supermarkets, street sweeper, you name it. I did it before I started doing cable. I was a bodyguard for about a year. Love that job. So I did a lot of different stuff. But you know what I loved out of all of those jobs was being a trash man.
And why would you love being a trash man?
Because I got to meet people every day. You get to meet people, and believe it or not, you don't want to piss off your trash man. So people was uber nice.
I understand that, because if you beat the trash man off, then he could leave your trash, or he could just make it fly all over the yard.
Yeah.
It's different type of way.
Yeah.
So speaking of all those jobs, where are you from?
I'm from D.C., the real Washington, D.C. I'm not from Maryland. I'm not from Upper Marlboro or PG County. I'm from Northwest D.C.
Home of the Redskins, right?
That's right. Love them.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And you started the telecommunications company in DCR.
Yeah, actually back then it was, I started with TCI, DC Cable, which was 50% owned by Bob Johnson, the owner of, or the ex-owner of BET. So BET was part of our parent company. So I spent a lot of time in that building with, Donnie Simpson and all of those folks, because cable was new back then. So we had a lot of issues and we had to keep running back and forth over there. So, but, it was fun.
That's cool. I never knew Bob Johnson owned TCI.
He owned part of DC Cable.
Oh, the DC
TCI.
Cable.
That's the only way they was able to get the contract to have cable in DC was because the best mayor in the world, Marion Barry, said you can't start a cable company unless you have some black-owned individuals, right? And so Bob Johnson stepped up. And just the DC cable system, he was 50% owner of.
See, that's cool. And this was early 90s with him?
Yeah, this was like 91, 90. So BET was just kind of starting up too.
Yeah, they probably was 11 years strong, but they was really coming into their own in the 90s because you said the key word, Donnie Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know about Donnie Simpson, but Donnie Simpson was the man on Video Soul.
Oh, yeah.
And he broke all the new videos.
Yeah, the Green Eye Bandit.
So you went from the trash man from the sweeper to the trash man to the telecommunications. So what was your first job in telecommunications?
I actually started out as an audit technician. Went around, cut off illegals. And, I did that for about almost a year. Then they got rid of the audit group. I became an installer, was an installer for about 6 months. Then I was a service technician for about 6 months. And then I became a maintenance tech, did that for about a year and a half. And then I became supervisor. They brought back the audit department and asked me to be the supervisor in audit. So I did that for about 2 years. And while I was supervising audit, they gave me security, facilities, and a warehouse. So they used to call me the Jamaican around the office. I did that. And then after that, I moved to Chicago and I became manager of the service department up in Chicago. So I would say that out of my 26 years of being in the industry, I've been in leadership like 21 years.
Not bad. Out of all those supervisor roles, which one did you enjoy the most? I would think audit because it's kind of a challenge.
Honestly, actually being in charge of the plant department and head-in was probably the one I liked the best back then.
Was it challenging?
Yeah, because that's when we were starting to get into the return. So, that's when we started to have to hit every amp, go to the return, put the return pads in, and just learning about all that technology, right? And, I also had the head-in guys. So as I was engaging the field stuff, I also was starting to engage, right, multiplexers and things of that nature in the head-in. So yeah, it was really exciting. The guys got to learn a lot. So
Yeah, because it was something new. So it was more than at the time, cable was maybe 50 channels.
Yeah.
Before the whole switch with the return and digital services. So yeah, that seemed like that would have been cool. Just, a different aspect, bringing something new to the business and learning it. Not bad. So after the maintenance tech, you went to supervisor, and then you say you moved to Chicago. And how long did you stay in Chicago?
I was in Chicago for about 4 years. And I love Chicago. You can wake up at 3:00 in the morning on a Tuesday morning, and there's something to do in Chicago. And so great food, just, really nice city and everything. And so I had like 133 techs working for me, but like 27 different gang affiliations. So Chicago is where I kind of really start to learn to be a leader, because you wasn't telling anybody what to do in Chicago. So I had to learn the art of persuasion, right, in Chicago. You had to help people to understand why it was in their best interest to go do what I'm asking them to do. Because again, that old school telling people what to do just didn't work in Chicago, because, you may walk out the door one night and that's it.
They're different.
Yeah.
They're very different. So did you, in your time in Chicago, during those 4 years, you were a manager?
Yeah, I went as a soup, but for about 3 months, and then I was manager for the rest of the time.
And I know you say persuasion, but like juggling, you had 133 people, so you're juggling 133 different personalities. And was it difficult?
At first, yeah, it was. Because again, I was still only like 27 years old. So I wasn't, kind of had seen a lot, in the business industry. And, at the end of the day, there was no businessmen in my neighborhood. My parents, my mom's cleaned hotel rooms. My father was a part owner at a liquor store. So at the end of the day, there was just nobody to teach me this stuff. So I had to learn on the fly. And I did a lot of self-training and self-evaluation and taking feedback from people and asking questions. So it was hard at first, but then once I truly realized that if you can get people to understand why it's in their best interest to do their jobs, it became a lot easier because I've always had a nice gift for gab and, being able to help people, to move people. So I kind of started equating the job and leadership to chess, right? Because in chess, you got to think steps ahead. So I had to start to learn the people and who they are, but and what they like, what they didn't like. So one guy, I can talk to him and get him to do the right thing by just talking to him in a business sense because he had that desire to want to be in leadership and move himself. But I had some real gangsters working for me. And I had to sometimes go to look, bruh, you need to get this done because you need this job. Because if you ain't got this job, then you can't keep hiding that dirty money you got. So I've had to have some wide range conversations with people to get them to do what needed to be done. But that took me first just learning to shut up and observe people instead of just trying to jump in. A lot of leaders think, oh, I'm going to go tell you this, and that's the right way to do. Everywhere I've gone and in everything I've done, I always listen first. I just sit back, listen, ask questions. And then once you identify the alphas, then I start to engage the alphas to go, hey, so what is it that we need to do around this joint? And once you get the buy-in from the alphas, then at the end of the day, people start to come along. So once you get a couple guys to go, in Chicago, for me, it was about getting a couple of guys that people respected on the street, but they was also respected at the office. Once I got those guys to say, you know what, Dre, cool, we need to do what we need to do so that he can stay around and so that this and that won't happen. And then we started moving. I mean, the South Side, I had the South Side of Chicago, which was from 23rd Street to 108th. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was rough. It was really, really rough. But again, at the end of the day, the job became easier for me as a leader because also people saw that I respected him. I wasn't coming with no bull crap. I wasn't trying to manipulate nobody. I wasn't trying to use nobody. I just straight up cared about getting my people in a great position so that they can advance themselves. And once they saw that, oh man, this guy got promoted. He a supervisor? People thought he would never be a supervisor. And then that supervisor come and go, yo, if it weren't for Dre, me listening to him, this and that. And that's when people just started to say, well, let us listen to this dude and follow suit, right? And after you get that rep, right, after you get that credibility, the job is easy after that.
Yeah, because me personally working for a Fortune 500 company, people always tend to think like, man, I can't. It's always I can't. Nobody ever wants to sit down and look at the logistics and be like, well, if this person made it, I can make it. What did this person do? Let me ask him what he did so I could better myself. It's always, it's a downplay of it. Like, well, I work for the company, but I can't get to the top of the company. And I think that's where a lot of employees go wrong at. Because, the CEO always wasn't the CEO.
Correct. Yeah. It's fear, bro. I mean, it's fear. At the end of the day, as humans, we are fearful. And especially when you start to make it up in ranks, the higher you get, the more fearful people get to push back, ask questions, right? Challenge those above you. It's something, hey, you need to manage up. And a lot of people are afraid to manage up. I manage up every day. If my boss, decide that, hey, if he comes and say, we're going to do this, and I know that's just not the way to go, I'm going to respectfully, right, tell him, why don't we think about this or whatever. If he come back and say, I hear you, Andre, we still gonna do it. All right, cool, fine. But at least I know I tried to change that decision. But even when he say, okay, we need to get this done, for me, long as you don't tell me I got to do steps 1 through 7, just tell me what I need to get done and let me figure out the best way to go about getting it done, because I know my people and I know how to present that to my people in a manner so we can all be on the same page. And sometimes, people going to be like, that's bull crap, Dre. Why we got to do that? And that's when you just go, at the end of the day, I hear you, I respect you, but this is what we got to get done. And so again, long as you're not doing that all the time, then people are going to respect you when you come out and you say, hey, I need us to go here. And I always respect people. You can ask me 1,000 questions. I don't care. I don't take it as disrespect when employees go, I disagree with you, or ask me 1,000 questions or just whatever. Because for me, it's helping me to understand where their mindset is and where the mindset is of most of the employees. Because 9 times out of 10, the only people that's really stepping up to say something is the ones that most of the employees listen to. So if you don't listen to that person, you don't really know where your employees stand. Because most times, right, employees ain't gonna just come knock on my door and be like, hey, this is how we feel every day. They, and I consider myself to be a pretty open guy, but still that stigma there between, oh, he's the director, so I can't just go knock on his door and say something to him, even though they can, and I would love for them to, but people just don't do it.
Do you find it harder in a management role now than you did when you were in your, per se, 30s? Is it a big difference?
There's a huge difference because the industry is so different, right? To your point, back in my 30s, return was just starting, a couple years. You only had about 82 channels, right? BET and those other type of channels, you still used some type of positive or negative trap in a lot of places. So, and we wasn't in the commercial side of the business. So overall, right, it just was easier because you didn't have so many products that you had to support. But nowadays, we got so many products you got to support. The demand for people, when somebody cuss you out because the Game of Thrones went out for 2 seconds, ain't nothing you can do. I mean, and a whole bunch you could say to people when they cursing your technicians out because Game of Thrones skipped 2 seconds. Or you got a gamer who is just off because he's not getting the internet speeds he needs so he can play Worlds of Warcraft, even though he like 47 years old, living in his mama basement or something. So, at the end of the day, today's pressure is because of the customer. Whereas though in the past, right, the customer's cable wasn't as popular and it wasn't as affordable, honestly, back in the day, because people didn't make as much money. Whereas though nowadays, people don't have a problem with paying $200, for cable, internet, blah, blah, blah. Because also most people use cable as their personal and family entertainment more so than going to the news. They'd rather stay home, pop their own popcorn, right? Order an on-demand movie and pay $6-7 for that to sit in the comfort of their home and watch it as many times as they want, 24, 48 hours. So overall, it's just easier. I mean, more difficult. But I will tell you also from an employee standpoint, managing employees is a lot harder today because, again, back in the day, people came to work really to do their jobs for the most part. So, you had a couple knuckleheads, but at the end of the day, people came to work to do their jobs because, you needed a job. Nowadays, these millennials and so forth, you gotta put your arm around them, tell them they great. It's like every kid getting a trophy in baseball, right? You want to say you suck, but you can't.
You got to give them that participation trophy.
Exactly. So, nowadays you got to sit down and, in the past, I might go, so tell, why did you do that? That was like the dumbest crap I've ever seen in my life. Why would you make that decision? Nowadays, I got to go, hey, so help me to understand where you were going when you was thinking about that. And that's not my natural behavior. I got too much to do to be sitting down going through all of that. So even employees is different nowadays, but it's all good. It's all love.
Have you ever received any type of negative response from other counterparts, maybe like older counterparts or different race or different gender because of your success?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was told so many times that I get too close to my employees, right, by my counterparts. My counterparts would, say, yo, why are you protecting this person? And that's because they were used to sitting in a room and whatever perception the boss had of somebody, that's the perception that everybody had to have. And I would sit in the room and go, oh, nah, he's better than that. I don't know where y'all got that from. So yeah, I've gotten some feedback, and I'll say that probably more than less, my opinions are probably not the most popular opinions, because for me, it's about doing what's in the best interest of my employees, the customer, and the business. I don't take anything personal with the work. And that's what I try to teach my leaders is it's not personal, but people will take it personal. And especially, again, when you get leaders that get to a certain level, they more concerned about losing their jobs. So they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want nobody else to rock the boat. You're going to make us look bad. You're going to put pressure and put eyeballs on us that we don't need. So, but I'm going to be me. I've always been me. I don't kiss butt. I don't stab people in the back. I don't do none of that. And sometimes at the detriment of my own career, right? But at the end of the day, I'm the one that's got to look at Andre in the mirror, because growing up in DC, the one thing that got me through, or one of the things that got me through when DC was murder capital and we was going through all that good stuff, was that people knew who I was, and they respected me. And so I'm a huge respect guy.
Yeah. And to that point, it goes back to what you said, is like, if your superior would be like, come in the room and we're going to do this like this and this, and you knew it was wrong, you would respectfully give your opinion. And that's kind of like what we miss these days with employees. They're so scared something's going to happen. They start to take it personal. So, if they don't take it personal and just would walk up to the leader and be like, hey, I know you said this, but what if we try this? It may be a little better. Because taking it personal, it doesn't help you in your life, because now you bring unnecessary stress and problems home. Now your home life is ruined, your work life ruined, and for what? For something that's out of your control.
Yeah, I mean, and I learned that also probably right before I left Chicago, that the importance of the home life and work life balance, right? And not even a balance, but how they connect. And so I've done stuff like, I've had technicians go, Mr. Jackson, I'm trying to buy a house. I have no clue what to do. My parents ain't never owned a house. Can you help me? I've went to the mortgage company with guys. I've went and looked at houses with guys, went in their closing, making sure the negotiations went well, open up bank accounts, get their first car. Because for me, I did it, one, because we as Black people, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of folks that can give us that kind of advice, right? And especially when you come from where we came from. And so I tried to get back that way. Plus, I understood that for me, I had a saying. If you got a mortgage, a wife, and kids, or CHSEP, which is child support on your check, that's going to make you get up in the morning and come to work.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many wives call me and be like, Mr. Jackson, is such and such messing up? Because he's telling me some stuff that sound like a straight lie. And I'll be like, I'm sorry, I really can't talk to you about that. Right. Oh, I'm coming up there. So I had a guy, this is a funny story. I had a guy, I don't know why exactly, but his wife came up to the job every payday to get his paycheck. He would get his paycheck and hand it right to her, and she would go. Right? And that's what she did. So he must have been doing something foul with the money, because she can't got that paycheck. And she would call his supervisor and be like, he's supposed to have 23 hours overtime. He only got 17. And so it just was, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's funny. But for me, again, understanding that if a guy is having problems at home, I've had techs call me at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Can I talk to you? My wife says she want to leave me. You know, I went out and met guys at 12 midnight, you know, and sat in the truck and talked to him because his life was turned around. And again, twofold for me is you got to help people that way. And at the end of the day, if I want this guy to come back to work at some point and do his job at a high level, you can't have that kind of stuff in your head.
So with that being said, is it anything you ever failed at in your career? And if you did, how did you bounce back from it?
As far as my career and the things I've done, I mean, I've made mistakes as far as maybe how I coach somebody in conversations, but they were always learning experiences for me. And so, you know, at the end of the day, I learned from them. So I can't say that it was a bad experience, you know, so.
And I mean, everything comes with a lesson. Yeah. Failure or success, everything comes with a lesson. Do you feel in the telecommunications companies across the United States, do you feel it's a better opportunity now for Black people per se than the early days?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. When I say that I was the only Black person in the room, and it'd be 100 people in the room, leaders, yeah, that's a true statement, you know, and it's been that way for a very long time. It's better, but it's not where it needs to be. Because traditionally in this industry, the technicians, when you look at most companies as a whole, technicians make up majority of the tech workforce. But the higher you get in leadership, the less African Americans you see.
And why do you think that is?
Well, one part is that as African Americans, especially men, we have this thing where we feel as though we cannot sell out. We cannot do this because this will make me look like a punk or weak. And at the end of the day, we're unwilling to do the things we need to do to be in leadership. We just have a sense of a false sense of loyalty or who we think we should be. And that keeps us from doing the things we need to do. Like I said, I don't stab people in the back. I don't do none of that cruddy stuff that people do, right? At the end of the day, nor have I ever done it. But I was able to understand that this is a game, right? And you got to learn how to play the game, and you got to know the rules to the game. And if you do that, then you can be effective. You can take care of your people. But again, most African American men, the first thing they want to do is they think you become a supervisor and you could just tell everybody what to do and that you're the smartest person in the room. And it just doesn't work that way.
I get that power trip.
Yeah. Plus self-education. I've paid people to sit in a room because folks told me, you look like you mean. So I've sat in a room with people who taught me how to open up my face and do all of these different things because I didn't know that people were scared of me. I didn't know that. But when it came to my attention, instead of just getting pissed off about it and being like, well, so what? I am who I am. I understood that if people are scared of you, one, they're not going to hear what you're saying out your mouth. And two, it's going to keep me from getting to the level I want to get to. And so, like I said, I went and had some professionals to help me to fix some of the stuff that I didn't even know, right? I didn't know I was doing it. When I'm just in deep thought, I used to get this scrounge on my face. And if you walk past me, it did look like I was pissed off.
But you in deep thought.
But I'm in deep thought. But, right, people would come and just be like, oh, Drake pissed off. Let me leave him alone. And they'd be like, I came past your office earlier, but you look like you was pissed off. I'm like, nah, I wasn't pissed off. I was just doing some spreadsheets or something, and, but I had to learn. But like I said, I took it upon myself to go out there and do the things I needed to do to better myself and fix those things. Because again, you need to understand the game.
Have you ever dealt with any kind of discrimination through the companies you work for? Or I don't want to say racism, but racism?
So I will say that I've never been experienced to any blatant racism, right? Because I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now, honestly, if it would have happened, earlier in my career. But there's always that underlining thing that happens, right? When certain people get a promotion and everybody comes up to you and go, okay, that ain't right. That wasn't right at all. And I know the only reason was that because of the color of my skin. And to be honest, when I was in Milwaukee, when people heard that I was from DC, I swear they started locking their kids up and, it was like, put your car keys away, make sure you got your wallet on you because Andre coming to the meeting.
Stereotyping.
Yeah, because I'm from DC. And people from the East Coast, we naturally talk aggressively, right?
Yeah.
And I used to talk with my hands a lot. And oh my God, I'd be in a meeting just being passionate and talking with my hands, and everybody be scooting back in their chair like I'm about to jump on the table and start whipping tail, but again, I had to learn that and understand that and make that change. So yes, I have been, I'm going to say, I had a boss, one of the best bosses I've ever had. He got so pissed off at a couple of opportunities that I should have gotten and I didn't get. He got so pissed off that he went into the regional VP's office and basically just said, if Andre was white, we all know he'll be a vice president by now. And so even though I told him after the fact, I didn't know he was doing it, that I appreciate it, but don't put yourself in that position anymore, right? Because at the end of the day, for me, I need somebody that knows and I can trust, right? At that level. And I don't need you getting fired and me getting a brand new boss. So those type of things, right? People are not going to come right on out and call you the N-word or stuff like that. They're going to be more subtle with things. And for the most part, find a reason why you shouldn't be promoted instead of trying to help you to get promoted, right? That's what most folks do.
Yeah, we missed that point. Well, now, at this point in your career, you're a director at this telecommunications company, correct?
Correct.
So what you manage you direct maybe 200 people
Correct.
total?
Yeah.
And is it different in New Orleans market than it was in DC or Milwaukee or Chicago?
Yes, every system that I've been in is different.
Is it a good different or
Well,
a
it's
difficult
just
different?
different. It's just different, right? So again, from the gang stuff in Chicago to being in Milwaukee, where, believe it or not, African Americans, in my opinion, have more of a Southern mentality than what the perception of what a Southern mentality is, than actual when I got down here of what I thought the Southern mentality was. And obviously that's different from the East Coast, DC, and Prince William County, Virginia area I was in. So yeah. New Orleans is different, but in now a good way. Once I started to learn and understand the culture of New Orleans. And so being in New Orleans, I had to really step back and do a lot of listening in New Orleans. And that was because, the folks here in New Orleans, when I got here, it had been years since they had gotten opportunities, and it just was a lot. They had a lot going on. And they great, smart people, just wasn't getting the credit that they needed to get for it. So once I understood all of that, it kind of helped me with my game plan of how I needed to go by doing what I need to do, because the game plan that I used in New Orleans, or still using, it's the same game plan I use in every market that I go to. I just have to switch it up a little bit. You might got to change a couple things and so forth just because of how people are. In Milwaukee, I couldn't be direct. I just couldn't. But in New Orleans, I had to. Right? In New Orleans, they want you to say, "Look, you messing up. You need to go do this, this, and this." Whereas though in Milwaukee, I had to have that other conversation to go, "So, Jake, tell me why you chose to do that," And so by being able to be a little more upfront in New Orleans, we were able to achieve my 3-year plan. We achieved that in like 2 years.
Yeah, I think New Orleans, us New Orleanians, I mean, we call it sugarcoating. We don't like anyone to sugarcoat it with us. It's just give us the truth, even if we like it or we don't. Just give it to us straight up. Not like you said in DC, like how you had to approach it. Yeah, we just want it straight up. And what would you tell, say you had a guy coming out of high school, what would you tell him about the telecommunications company? Would you encourage him to join it, or her to join the company, go into this part of life and see what you could get out of it? Or would you tell him to go a different direction?
It's a great industry. We're pretty much recession proof, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you know it or not, people need the internet.
It's a necessity now.
Yeah. You can't do anything without the internet. You can't fill out a job application. You can't do anything without the internet. So we're going to make money. So it's a good industry to be. But I would definitely tell anyone coming out of high school that if they get into and want to be in this industry, they don't have to do it full time, but I would highly encourage them to go get a college degree or work on a college degree while they are either working, right, in the industry, because a lot of folks just don't want to go to college for 4 years, nor can they just afford it, right? They want to work. So if you get an opportunity at 19 to come into a company and they paying you $16, $17 an hour, and they doing tuition reimbursement, and you can go take you a couple courses every, year. It may take you 5 years to get your bachelor's. Go ahead and do it, because you still going to get your college degree before you're 30. And then hopefully by then you're moving up in the company and you're learning. So I wouldn't discourage anybody from doing it. Matter of fact, my son, he moved from New Orleans because he wanted to work for the cable company, but he couldn't because of my position. So he moved to North Carolina and started working for a security company out there. He's seen what this industry has done for me, and so I'm managing multi-million-dollar budgets, and he see, that we've been able over the years to take vacations, and, he's lived a good life. So he's like, I want to do what daddy did. So,
And that's not a bad choice.
right. And it's not. So it's a great industry to be in. And if you love technology and you're okay with change and you know, and everything else, because we're always changing and we're always growing. And the technology is always changing up for us in 3 to 5 years. So I would recommend it to anyone. Because also, again, if you're a people person and you like people, it's a great industry to be in.
Yeah, because it's all about people. I mean, you have to have some type of relationship or be a people person to deal with the public.
Yes.
Because, I mean, everybody's not going to be happy-go-lucky when you get out the truck and go to their home. Or if they see you in a grocery store with your uniform on. You know, it's it could get crazy. Did you have any college background?
So I did go to school. I went into the Air Force when I got out of high school. I wasn't a going to college kind of guy. So again, my goal was to go in the military because you couldn't become a cop until you're 21. And then so I was going to, go to school while I'm in the military, come out, become a cop. So I did start taking some college courses in the military. And so I don't have my degree, but like now I'm enrolled in LSU. Well, I was enrolled in LSU, doing courses at LSU to get my degree. So my goal right now is I probably got, for different reasons, it's probably going to take me about 2 years to finish up and so forth. So in 2 years, I have my degree. And that's not because I have to. It's because I want to.
Personal goal.
Yeah, it's a personal goal. But I know that if I do want to be a vice president, I'm going to need that college degree. So.
Not bad. I mean, and a perception we have in New Orleans is, man, I can't get that job without going to college. And that's not true. Because the way dating time is going now, it's like you don't have to have a college degree, just have a high school diploma and common sense, and you could get on at some of these companies. And I hate to say it, work your way up.
Exactly.
But everybody doesn't want to work their way up.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, that's good if you just want to be an employee, right? If you just want to be a regular employee, come to work every day type of person, yeah. But if you're talking about getting into leadership, even a supervisor level, I would recommend, like I've recommended to all my supes that don't have a college degree to go ahead and start working on it. And that's because the competition is getting so thick out there, especially now with the virus and people out of work. You have folks that was my level now coming knocking on the door going, I'll take a supervisor job. Because, they unemployed right now. So, when you got a guy that's been in the industry for 20 years, he's been a manager, maybe even a director, and he's willing to come in and be a supervisor and work his way back up. How do you say no to a guy like that compared to a guy that's been in the industry for 4 years, guy out of high school, great employee? The competition, like I said, is just so thick.
You have, over the years, managed quite a few very large, multi-million-dollar budgets. That's correct?
Yes.
Our families, friends, they're trying to manage not so large budgets. Do you have any tips for people that are just managing, their daily budgets? Anything that you do that that would apply to even just a smaller budget?
So set realistic expectations, right? And live within your means. A lot of folks want to, get a brand new Dodge Charger, put 20s on it, put TVs in the headrest and a $3,000 sound system in it, but they still live in a mama basement. So set realistic expectations and also live within your means and not don't compete with the Joneses. That's the biggest problem that people have is I think everybody needs to spoil themselves. If we work hard, I'm not one of those don't spend a dime, reuse grapes type of person. But at the end of the day, you know, I think we all need a treat. If you work hard, you should treat yourself. And that's what we really need to do is just, again, look at our finances and say, hey, after I pay all of my bills, right, the necessities, because the necessities is mortgage, rent, electric, gas, water bill. That's the necessity, food. Everything else is a luxury. Cable is a luxury. You know, car notes is a luxury. Insurance on car notes is a luxury. So, you know, a guy that goes out and buy a BMW instead of going to buy a Ford don't understand that you just triple the oil change price for buying a luxury car, a luxury vehicle. So, again, for me, it's just really about staying within your means and having a game plan. I'm sorry, you gotta have a game plan. You gotta have goals of what you want. I gotta say, I love my wife because when we were looking to get married and we were starting to plan a wedding, and my wife's family is from Franklinton, Louisiana, and Titletown, Mississippi. And so for me, I had about 12 names on the list. My mom, my daddy, my sisters and brothers, a couple other folks. She had like 150. And so
Family.
yeah, because she was like, we can't invite such and such without inviting such and such. And I didn't understand that kind of Southern thing y'all got going on down
Got
here.
it. That's it.
And so I'm like, you ain't got her. She like your 17th cousin, you know? But it was the dynamics of it all. But it got to a point, she said, look, baby, I really want a house. So let's forego all of this and let's go and put that money on the down payment on a house, right? And we had the justice of the peace. We bought a house, had the justice of the peace come and marry us in our family room, right? With a few folks. She went and found a great dress and she paid only like 20% of the cost or something. I don't know how she did that one. And out of everything, I wound up spending maybe $1,000 on my whole wedding. And that was 24 years ago. You know, so instead of paying $40,000 for a wedding and not having a house, we went and bought a house, right? And paid $1,000 for a wedding. So just being able to make those kind of decisions about your personal finances, those are the things that's going to help you to get to where you want to be. Brandon and I was talking earlier, people don't realize the power of having a 750 credit score compared to having $50,000. Because you can have $50,000, but if your credit score is in the 400s, ain't too much you can do with that $50,000 except spend it. Because you obviously don't understand investing and things of that nature. So, and one thing that I try to push as much as I can without being too forceful with the folks that work for me is taking advantage of the 401k. A lot of folks don't do that. They don't take advantage of the 401k. You know, if you can put in up to 6% of your salary and the company's going to match it up to a certain point, that's like free money. You know, and if you're 22 years old and you just started working here, imagine in 30 years, you're not even 55 of what you're going to have in your 401k. So you know, those things financially, to me, just goes back to, unfortunately, most of us didn't have anyone, and you know, our parents didn't understand that kind of financial behavior, nor was our parents in a position to be that, you know, financially conscious a lot of times. So they just barely made enough to pay the bills that you had to pay. So now in this new kind of generation of things, right, these folks have a lot of opportunity and we just need to help them to understand that. I mean, I love wearing nice stuff, but I ain't paying $100 and nothing for nothing. You know, so I'll wait and catch it at the Dillard's outlet, but I'm not going into the regular Dillard's and paying $85 for a polo shirt. I'll wait to catch it at the dealer's outlet for $27.95. Right? So
I see a lot of nods going on here. I think you're in good company. Yeah.
hey,
I'm not an outlet man. I'm not.
I hear you, bro. It's patience, right? Most men go into a store. We need a shirt. We need a purple shirt. We go into the store. We see a purple shirt. We don't care how much it costs. We buy a purple shirt and we leave out in 15 minutes. I go see that same purple shirt. Be like, yeah, that joint gonna be on sale in about 30 days or something. 30 days it'll be on sale. Or if it's at Dillard's, it's probably gonna be at the Dillard's outlet. And if you catch them on the right week when they 70% off too, on top of the 65, $17. So
Speaking of savings, is that something when you're managing your company's budget? Is that something that you're trying to do as well?
So some things, right? Some things like salaries, I never try to come in on budget on salaries. I pay, if the company say I spend $5 million in salaries, I spend $5 million in salaries. But on things such as incentives and gifts and things of that nature, because I do a lot. I do barbecues, crawfish bowls, we do raffles, right? I do all of that stuff. When I got here, what we spent back then quadruple what we spent today, right? So I have a personal responsibility as in my position to save money on what I deem unnecessary spend, and a lot of it was just unnecessary spend. So I still take care of my people. I think I do that pretty well, but I'm not gonna make sure that everybody's walking out the door with a flat screen TV at the end of the year. That's not what this is for. And instead of doing raffles and spending some of that other money, I'd rather move money into salaries so that people can make more. When I got here, people was coming through the door making 12 something an hour. Now they make 16 something. So that's how I try to give it to where it really means something and not just fly by night. You get a gift or you get some money or you get extra overtime and so forth. Overtime is another place where I save money, because if you spend a lot of money in overtime, if you don't have the revenue to back it up, then at the end of the day, you just wasted money because your people are not efficient. So it's just different things that you have to look at. At the end of the day, do I spend all the money? No, I don't. Nor do I want to, but I make sure I spend the money where it needs to be spent.
What's an indicator that you're doing well with the budget?
I would say that for me, if my employees are happy with their pay and you have a good incentive plan in place for them to make more money when they outperform their average duties, their normal duties, and you can reward them and still come in with a certain percent of your total budget in unnecessary spend, then that's success to me. But it goes back to the employees, right? Nobody's going to be totally happy with what you pay them, because you can pay somebody $50 an hour and they will still say that's not enough. I have this one employee that since day one, as soon as I came through the door, yo, can I get some more money? He didn't introduce himself, nothing. I need more money.
There's a school of thought that says, you're way more valuable than anyone can ever pay for you.
That's true.
So I know there's a part of that that's in jest. But, know your worth, always push your worth. And try to get the most for that. I'm interested to know, how do you get the information you need in order to make decisions? How do you get that information? How do you get that feedback?
Through reports. Reports is part of my daily life. I wake up looking at reports and I go to sleep looking at reports. But I am very careful because data can tell you a lot, but it's not the truth all the time, right? So you got to be very careful when you look at data. You may look at the data and it may say that certain employee is great, but when you look at another employee, it says he's horrible. But then you got to go deeper and say, well, he works in this part of the city and he works in this part of the city. And there's a technical difference with the network. And that's why that employee outperforms this employee. So even though this employee's metrics and data may say that he is not outperforming his counterpart, 9 times out of 10, he's working harder than his counterpart just to maintain or get minimum, right, satisfaction. Whereas though the other employee, he basically can sit in his vehicle all day and probably get great metrics. So you can't let the data make all of the decisions for you. You have to look at and dig deeper into the data to understand why things are happening the way they happen.
Well, where do you get your reports? Who provides the data that you analyze?
We have a whole group of data analysts in a company, and we have some canned reports and, some reports that we all look at across the industry. And then if I need some special reporting, I just request it. So we have a whole analytics group, and their job is to pull the data and actually look at the data and tell that first part of the story for me. And then I take it from there.
When you find out, say, for instance, this person is in this part of the city and their numbers are way different, is there a way to, say, for instance, correct that metric? I don't know if that's something that has to do with promotion. In our company, it does. Mm-hmm. So in your company, it may, and then you can make a...
And I am the final say. And so what happens is some things we can do an exception for, right? And some things we can't. And so at the end of the day, especially with our more experienced maintenance group, because they do such a variety of work on promotions, I sit in on every promotion conversations. Well, the manager has to present all promotions to me. And then I go through and I ask the pertinent questions to make sure that we do not promote somebody that should be promoted because we put them in a circumstance. I'm a firm believer that just because people are in certain positions that they automatically should be doing that job the right way, because not everybody had the leader to teach them to do that job the right way. And so I also look at that, right? I look at people and their behaviors. I'm big on behaviors, which is, right, do you come to work? What's your mentality? Do you put your shirt tail in? Do you ask the right questions? So all of those behaviors are things that I'm always looking at. And most of the guys know I'm always observing. Always. I'm always watching. So at the end of the day, I don't say anything, but when it comes for that time to say, should we promote this person? I go, no, he never puts his shirt tail in. He's been written up 3 times for attendance. Whenever I talk to him, it's always negative. He never likes anything. He always got a problem with everything. Why would I promote somebody with a bad attitude? And I don't like bad attitudes because it's unnecessary. Because guess what? I didn't come knock on anybody's door to ask them to come work at the job. So why would you have a bad attitude about the job if we didn't come and recruit you? I can see if I came and recruited you and promised you a lot of stuff and lied to you. But if you came and applied for the job, mm-hmm. and we told you up front what you was going to make, mm-hmm. and what the responsibilities were, why are you getting mad that we asking you to do it? Right? So
nice to be nice and do your job.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. I have a feeling you do encourage a little better behavior. I know you said you don't say anything, but I have a feeling that you do give a little bit of feedback, trying to encourage folks. Just here, when you mentioned about the shirt tail or whatnot, or even the positivity.
Certain people, mm-hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, people that I think has potential, and so forth. Sometimes they just need that push. And I know that I have better relationships with some folks than their immediate supervisor does. So I try to encourage them and push them. But I do have to understand that I'm my position, and just my position within itself. Some people, when I speak, it's like huge, right? So if I say Byron to his boss that he never has his shirt tail in, trust me when I say that he's going to get an email every day. His supervisor going to be over his shoulder saying something to him about it. So I have to be very careful at what I say also.
Gotcha.
So,
I gotcha. You know the impact of your
correct.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to tuck his shirt in right now. Okay. Just wanting to get an idea of how to continue to move past just paycheck to paycheck. I heard not being extravagant, but there are folks that they really don't make a lot of money at all.
Right.
What's something that they can do that would assist them to move past that?
So I would say that if you don't, and right, if you make $10 an hour, that's hard in this world. If you married and you don't have any kids, and both of you guys are making $10, $12 an hour, it's rough. It's really rough, because just to find somewhere decent, right, to live, it's rough, no matter what city you're in. So what I would say is that, and it's kind of the same conversation I have had with my kids, to say, at the end of the day, if you are going to not apply yourself to get better, because even if you make $12 an hour, there should be a plan in place for you not to make $12 an hour, right? I made $7.75 an hour when I started in this industry. And my goal was to make $13.50 an hour. That was the first financial kind of salary goal I made for myself. I wanted to drive a bucket truck and make $13.50 an hour. And once I hit that plateau, I set a next one. I wanted to make $36,000 a year, and then after that, and then I just went up, and I kept setting those plateaus. And again, being realistic in how long it's going to take you to get there. So, if you make $10 an hour, $12 an hour, if you're in your 20s, you still have a lot of time to get yourself to a good place, right? Where whatever that good place may be for you. But unfortunately, in our community, a lot of folks are just okay with making $12 an hour, because it gives them the freedom to do all of the other stuff that they may want to do in their life. So I would say everything for me financially, you got to have a plan, right? And if you are married, you got to have a Wonder Woman beside you as you playing Batman, because for me, my success is just as much predicated on my wife and who she is, because she was the one who said, you got to stop acting like you from DC all the time. And I would come home and tell her about some conversations I had with employees, and she'd be like, babe, you can't do that. You can't do that. So she helped me a lot to grow. But if you married and you making $12 an hour, you can't, right? That's going to be hard. That's going to be really hard for both of you guys, especially if, you're not connected that way. But it starts with that plan. And if you 25 years old, you making $12 an hour, and you don't have no criminal record, and you got a good driving record, you can make more money. You really can make more money. It's all about making the choice to do what you need to do to go out and get it. Because a lot of folks expect stuff to come to them. Yeah.
I like what you said, because it sounded like step-up goals. So you don't have to dream of or make that, I'm going to make $1 million a year without having those step up goals. You said 7, now I need to move up to 13. I want to drive it, but you can picture it. I can see those things, and it's attainable. There are steps actually already written. How to apply, where do you apply, and what is needed for you to be able to get this job.
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
And patience. We don't have patience in our community. We want everything right now. I want to go from $10 to $15 in 4 months, and I don't understand why my boss won't pay me $14 an hour.
You don't want to go to 15, you want to go from 10 straight to 50.
Yeah, so you got to have patience, and that's why I say you got to have realistic goals too, and expectations, and understanding what you're doing. If you work, and no hunch on anybody that work anywhere, but if you're working at the dollar store, the possibility of making $30 an hour is probably slim and none. It's the dollar store. I'm just saying, but if you want to make $30 an hour, then you need to understand what industries is going to pay you $30 an hour for the skill set that you have. And if you don't have those skills, it's so many free programs out here to help people to get the skills to do what they want to do. And as Brandon was asking me earlier about all of the different jobs I had, and I told him the trash man was probably one of my most rewarding and the best ones I had. I also was going to school to be a carpenter.
Right.
And so, and then I started working in cable. So I stopped doing that because cable was my gig. So you just got to have those plans. I mean, we all started somewhere from $7.75 an hour, living in an apartment or wherever, and then moving to a cruddy apartment, to a better apartment, to maybe renting a small house, to buying a small house, and you work your way up. And hopefully when you 50, 60 years old, you can say, all right, I'm pretty much,
Good.
Oh yeah, I'm good. I own a house. I got the vehicles that I want. I got a couple dollars in the bank. My credit score is over 700, and and you can sit back and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a vacation next month. I'm going to go to Jamaica and not have to put it on layaway for 2 years. So I say when you like 50 some years old. Yeah.
That's a long time.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, trust me, dog. I got some family members that put a Jamaica trip on layaway for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Or be in debt for it, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that just walked up to you on the street and like, hey man, I'm 20 years old, can't afford college. What should I do?
I would probably say to them, at 20 years old, it's going to take you a while to truly find a job that you love and you want to do for the rest of your life. So go out there and try as many jobs as you want. And don't feel like you have to stay at a job for 7, 8 years. If you financially, need to work 2, 3 jobs at 20 years old, because that's what most folks did back in the day, work a couple jobs, which seems to be voodoo nowadays. Go out and work you a couple jobs so that you can financially get better, but also go find out what you really like to do and make sure that that job that you finally find can financially give you the reward that you want. So at 20, I would say if you ain't trying to go to school, don't press yourself and be realistic that at 20 and not making a lot of money, you may want a certain car or a certain lifestyle. You can have that somewhat, like myself, who, again, I can afford to go and pay full price for stuff, but I ain't going to. And that's not because I'm cheap. It's just that I respect my money enough that I'm not going to do it. So So I guess that's the advice I would give to a 20-year-old coming up.
And I appreciate that, Mr. Jackson. And I thank you for coming to the You're Gonna Feel Me podcast. And hopefully we get to speak with you again.
This was fun, man. So anytime, anytime, bro. I love, like I told you, I love helping out, right? And I think if I can help just one person in our community to say, "Woo, this dude from DC, he sound like he hood, but he can be a director," then maybe I can do something like that.
We appreciate that. In the close, we thank our guests and we thank Miss Now for chiming in. And in the famous words of Papa Smurf, love is the answer. Cares what the question is.